Now this basically leads right into the second question, which is, if you take a look at this guy here, take the pyraminx, pull it out, and you end up with this guy. Well, actually, yeah, with this guy over here. Now this is the corner turning octahedron. I did do a tutorial on this one. And it's pretty much the same thing as the pyraminx. This turns over here and here and here. All these corners turn. This is if you're to take the pyraminx and just glue on another one down here. It's pretty much the same thing. However, if you were to take this part of the pyraminx and glue it on another way, you'd end up with this guy, which is the face turning octahedron. This one is a little bit more of a challenge. This is solved much like a pyraminx and or a 3x3. This one has its own kind of strategy to it. So now I'm not going to go into the details of solving this. However, someone had the same idea. Why don't we truncate it? Why don't we chop this off over here and create a truncated face turning octahedron, which is this. It really moves exactly the same way, only it's without the top here. Now, there are some truncated corner turning octahedrons where they do the same thing with the corner turners. Now, when they did that, if you notice, these caps are as useless as the caps of a pyraminx. So by doing a corner turning, a truncated corner turning octahedron, it does not change the strategy at all. A corner turning truncated octahedron is to this as this guy is to this. It's exactly the same. But what about the truncated face turning octahedron? Is it exactly the same? Well, it seems like it. So that when the viewer posed a question about some issue with a parity situation, my first comment was, how could that be? Why would you get any more parity here than you would here? Maybe there's false equivocating, maybe one side was confused with another. But he showed me a video and said, no, there's no confusion. It actually happens. Pieces didn't pop out. Because as hard as I tried, I could not get this into a parity situation. It just wouldn't happen. So I thought, did a piece pop out? Did something like that happen? And he not only said that that's not the case, he showed me. He showed me a video where he solved it from a fully assembled form, and he would get that situation. Well, what's interesting is that you actually do get a parity situation where two of these need to be swapped. And I never was able to get that in here. When I say two of these, I mean these edges over here needed to be swapped. Everything else was fine. But I never got that with this one. I could never get into a situation where these two needed to be swapped. And the question is why? Well, it has to do with this concept of calibration. What is it that calibrates the face-turning octahedron? Well, the thing that calibrates this is actually these guys, not these guys. See, the difference between this and, say, this, the face-turning octahedron and the corner-turning octahedron, is the fact that these pieces here, these guys here, are connected. You can never disconnect these pieces at all, just like with the pyraminx. And just like with the tetraminx, you don't get a similar kind of a parity situation because these guys are always connected, right? This piece over here, these colors here, this is one piece. So it always calibrates the puzzle, and you'll never get a parity situation where just these two are out in this particular puzzle. But this one is different because these pieces here, they're not the same piece. They're actually different pieces. I could turn it like this, and I can turn it like this. When I turn it like that, I've now separated these guys from this. So you can see that it's not the same piece. What's more, I can separate these guys from this as well by turning it in the various other faces. So I turn it like this. So the fact is, this is not one piece. Because that's not one piece, this is not what calibrates this puzzle. Ultimately, what calibrates this puzzle, where I never walk into parity, are these corners. These corners are not vestigial. These corners are not useless. You cannot turn, oh, maybe you can. No, you cannot turn these corners here like you can with this. This actually provides a key function of providing calibration. So in a 3x3, it's the center. In the pyraminx, it's these guys, because they're one piece. But here, it's actually these guys. And when I scramble this, no matter how I scramble this, the association between these corners will always remain the same, so I won't get any parity with that. What I've effectively done with this piece is by taking out those corners and making it one color, is I've taken out my calibration. Because I've taken out my calibration, I could potentially put the wrong sides in. if the red is here, I might accidentally put the purple here, and I might accidentally put the green over here. When I do that, I could end up with an impossible parity. I won't know that until at the very end when I see two pieces just won't belong. And that's because the ultimate way to calibrate this puzzle is not by these pieces. The calibration is by these pieces. But the problem is I won't know how to calibrate it until the very end. So, what am I talking about? Well, first I want to refer you to the face-turning octahedron tutorial, because I'm going to assume knowledge of that. And the viewer who had the question not only had the knowledge of that, he was able to show me that he understood how to solve this very well using the techniques that I had shown. Briefly, there's really only one algorithm that you need to know. To solve this, in many ways, it's easier than here. As you recall, I solved these guys first, much like I did with the diamond cube. Here, you don't have to do that. Now, in order to keep these exactly where they're at and put these edges in, I had to do pretty much a similar kind of a strategy of rotating these around, the R, U, RIU, R2, URI. Because I wasn't using this to calibrate, I was using these and putting these in conjunction with these guys. But I don't need to do that now with this guy. I can just place these without doing that algorithm, because I don't care where these go. As I'm placing these guys can go anywhere they want. They're really the same color. So because of that, I don't have to use algorithms to place these. I can just place them, quote, intuitively. The only algorithms I need to use are to place these guys, which resembled these guys over here are like these guys. Well, they are these guys, these centerpieces, so to speak, which is kind of like an equivalent piece on the master's cube. But I went through all that with this. So let's go through the solve of this and see if we can create that bizarre parity situation as we're scrambling this over here, 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 and I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep scrambling it all the way. See if we can recreate the situation that the viewer had. Abracadabra. Okay, now the reason why I'm going into a lot of theory behind this is because honestly, when I first saw that, it was kind of a stumper. It was a little difficult for me to figure out until I realized that it was a question of calibration, and that's why you get that. So the first step when solving this puzzle, and I'm just going to go through it, is I want to put these edges in. Again, the good news is you don't have to do algorithms to put that there, because originally I did the algorithms because I put the corners in here first. And I didn't want to mess that up while putting these in, so the best way to do that is algorithms. Now all I need to do is placement. So here's green. Let's just find any other green over here. Just turn them in any way you see fit. Any old way. Turn it here. I'm not using any planning. This one needs to come into here. So turn, turn, turn. Again, I'm saying turn, turn, turn because I have no algorithms to give you and there's no need. So here's our danger sign. Now all we have to do is start correlating these. This has now been arbitrarily called the white side, and this is arbitrarily called the red side. So we'll start moving some other whites. Here's a white and blue here. Now let's think about this. I'm going to try to correlate these two sides with this side here. I didn't exactly have to do it this way with this puzzle. I already knew the different sides. I put these in and I knew every colored sides. Here I'm not. I have to use a little deductive reasoning. This is red, this is white. So which white and which red has a shared color? Is it blue? Do we have a red and blue, which is where that would be? Here's the other red, and the answer is no, we don't. So therefore it must be the other white color that's shared between the two. Let's find the other white, and it's right over here. So without messing things up, I'm just going to turn the faces until I get this in the proper scheme. Move it into here. So it's purple, which means there must be a red and purple. The red and purple comes over here, and it's right over here. So how am I going to move this into here without messing this up? Well, we're going to use this other layer, this bottom layer here, as something to juxtapose whatever I need. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it down to this bottom layer, move it across here. Now this is going to be the purple layer, but I got to get the red up here. What I'm going to do that, and again, no need for algorithms, just turn it away. I want it to basically to occupy this slot. So turn it away here, move this slot down. We're moving this just for a second, then move it in. So now that's occupying that slot, and we move it up. So now this is all over here. Do you need an algorithm? Nah, I think you got it. Besides, I do assume knowledge of this, although we don't really do it this way with this guy. We didn't need to. So in any case, I'm going to put the remaining red over here. There's only one choice, which is this one, and that'll be over here. So what we have is we have the greens, the whites, the reds, and this is all fine. I'm going to hit this bottom layer last. So I'm going to turn around here, and now what I want to do is I want to start putting in these layers here. So this is red, because we have green and red. The remaining green is gray, so this must be the gray layer. Now the question is, what's going to be shared? Well, this is green and yellow, so I'm looking for the gray and yellow, which is right here. So this needs to occupy this slot. So what I'm going to do is move it out of the way, any old way. I'm just going to move it here. Take this piece, move it down to the bottom layer where this is, and then move it in. Once I do that, these are correctly coordinated with each other, and then move it up. So this is good, and this is good over here. So now that we have that, I have but to put the last gray in, which is over here. So just to reiterate, we started off with green, we put the whites and the reds with the purple in between. We came back over here and did the same thing with the gray, yellow, yellow. And now we got to put the final gray in here, which is over here. So we can line this up. Now, how am I going to move this gray into here without destroying this? Because remember, we put all this in. Well, same kind of thing. We're still using this bottom layer to juxtapose things. So we'll just move this out of the way here, move it down, and move this across. So that occupies the slot. Remember, this bottom layer meant nothing to us. We weren't even focusing on it. We were just using this to juxtapose and put everything around. So anytime you want to put something in slots here, use the bottom layer. Then we just turn it up. Okay, so we have this in, this is all good, this is fine, this is fine. These two correlate with this. And now the bottom layer, all these should be in, they'll automatically be in, and these guys just have to be turned to their respective place. So I got the purple here, orange here, and blue here. So that's an example of things working with absolutely no parity, but it didn't have to work out that way. Okay, so let's say we're at the final step again. You put these in, you put this in over here. This is going to be defined as the yellow side. This will be defined as the green side. You found that the reds were similar. They shared a red color. So you said, great, we're done with this part. We go to the back part and we do the same thing. We say this is white, blue and white is over here. Because this is yellow and orange. We must find a blue and orange. Does it exist? And yeah, it's over here. Using the bottom layer, we just move this down so that it can be in the same layer where it can accept this. Move this in and move it up, and you're thinking, great. Now we're doing well. This is good. Correlates with this. We just have to move this bottom layer. All these purple ones are in, so you turn it, and this is in, and uh-oh, not in, and not in. Now, my suggestion when you see this is you stop, because this is that parity situation. If we focus on this side over here, you see this is in, this red is with these whites, and this white is with these reds. So these two need to be flipped. Now I could go on and put these guys in the way that you did with the Master's Cube, but I wouldn't do that right now because this has to be dealt with. This has to be flipped, but because of the laws of cubes, I cannot flip these without flipping something else. So the question is, what happened? How did this happen? Well, so I explained the theory of that basically states that I was using, these have to calibrate the puzzle, but I calibrated it wrong. I couldn't use these anymore. So here's how you look at it. When you get in a situation like this where you can tell that these have to be flipped, don't think of it in terms of these needing to be flipped. They actually don't. They're supposed to be here. This is where it's supposed to be. When I put in my original layer here, I actually flipped these two. When I flip these two, I could make it make sense, but it's not going to correlate with the rest of the puzzle, and it's not going to be known to me until the very last layer. So here's how you get out of it. The way that you get out of it is don't focus on swapping these two. What you need to do is keep these here and swap these two. What you want to do is you actually want to swap layers. You don't want to put, these guys here. This has to be the red side, and this has to be the white side. So these reds must come here, and these whites must come here. Once you recognize that, you don't need algorithms to solve it, but here's what you can do to minimize the motions to make that happen. The first thing to do is start getting these colors swapped. So we can start with this over here since it's easy enough. So what I'm going to do is with this layer, I'm going to do an F move. This F move will move this to here, and this will be down on the bottom layer, or I can shuttle this back and forth to launch it into there. So I'm going to go, now here's, I should probably explain the moves here. This is up, this is F. Now we have two different types of rights and lefts. So this is right front, left front, this is right back, and this is left back. This is down over here, and then you have, well, we won't worry about that, but so basically up, F, right front, right back, left back, and down. That's all you need to know. So what I'm going to do to move this is I'm going to go F, that puts this here. Now this has to be moved into position, and to do that I'm going to go D, Fi, Di, F. All right, so we've accomplished a little bit of our goals. We put this in here and this in here. Now to swap these two, what you can do to make the movement more parsimonious, as little as possible. After doing that, we're going to start off with the L here, and we're going to go L back, which puts it on the bottom layer here, then right back, which puts this over here. Then we're going to do DI, and now this gets placed back over here, so we're going to do right, and now this guy has to come up over here, so we're going to continue with the DI, and then L back I guess. L back I over here. So what that did is that cleanly swapped these two sides and over here. After you've done that with the F's and then the L's, go all the way to the back over here. Bring it to the back so that if we were over here with the silver thing facing us, I'm going to have this corner here, this edge over here is going to be facing front and center right over here. Because now what I want to do is I want to swap these two. And that's all I have to do is just swap these two. And I'm going to use the bottom part here to do that. So once again, I'm going to start off with the L over here. So I'm going to go like L, and then RI, then a D move, which puts this over here. Then we're going to do an R, and then continuing with this over here, move this again with a D, and then Li. Now the beauty of doing that is that this is in, this will automatically be in. So take a look at those moves in exactly the way that I did it, and you'll get rid of that parity. So when you see that, understand that the parity occurred because you could not equilibrate it using these guys to follow where these were supposed to go. These are your ultimate equilibrators, but just like any even layered puzzle, you don't know where it's supposed to go. So just go ahead and when you see that, flip those sides. You can use the motions and the combinations of motions that I gave. Then it's just a question of solving it exactly like this. And I'll post the algorithm, but basically it's going to be swapping these three. So it's going to be swapping everything that's connected to these silver ones. So what this will do is this will come here, this will come here, and this will come here. So here's the green. This is already in. There's no specific color that has to happen. Find the other green. And it's over here. So actually what you can do is just find one where you don't have to do any turning or deconstruction or reconstruction to make it happen. So for instance, here's silver, and I want to roll this into here. So this is going to be the left-sided version where this will come here, this will come here, and this will come here. So if you want to do the left-sided version, you're going to be moving this down. This is your middle slice down. So middle slice is down over here. Then go left, down, down, up. Middle slice it back. Then down, up, up. I'm not getting into details with this because I need to refer you to the face-turning octahedron. It's the same thing. The viewer question was purely on the parity, and that's specifically what I'm addressing with this. So we're down to the last one. Now this is a much easier swap. It's actually not a 2-cycle. It's going to be a surrogate 3-cycle. If I move it here and move this down, this will come here, this will come here, this will come here, and this will be end game. So move this down, and then down, down, up, and down, up, up, and it's solved. So again, my whole point was not so much this step, and I do apologize if you were hoping that I would go through this in more detail, but look at this tutorial. It's the same way of dealing with these pieces here, and I do get into more details, but that's how you get out of that parity. So I thought that would be kind of a good way to address certain viewer specific questions, but also talk about the notion of calibration and why you would actually get parity in this particular puzzle. So, hope that helps. Thanks for watching.